you've searched the internet for sim racing equipment, watched a couple of YouTube videos on the topic, or have been around the hobby/sport for a while, hobby if we're just having funsies, sport if you're competing in some kind of a league, there's an undoubtable chance you've heard the name Next Level Racing.
From Next Level Racing, and you can see the upgrade.
The Next Level Racing.
From Next Level Racing.
One of the great things about Next Level Racing, they do actually sell through a lot of retail stores as well, which means you can actually walk into a store and pick one of these up, depending on where you are in the world.
You're one of the very, very few people getting this message. It means that you set the fast.
The monitors in the gaming cafe are held up by Next Level Racing. So I became a man with a mission to find out how one company can get so much popularity in their realm. Is it just good marketing? Do they make superb products?
How about a little both? Okay, dog.
I reached out to Next Level Racing a few months back and said, hey, I've been splashing around in the kiddie pool for like 4 or 5 years, playing racing games on a controller and snapping my Logitech wheel to my desk. I'm ready to put the swimmer's putty in and dive into the deep end, build my dream home simulator setup. I couldn't turn my head in any direction without running into your company's gear. Why is this? After assembling, using, and abusing 3 of the most popular products on the site in their respective categories, I have some thoughts, as you would assume a guy with a microphone in front of his suckhole would. So why don't you hang out and we're gonna talk about the pros and cons of what is undoubtedly the most popular company in flight and racing simulator equipment. At least that's what it says on their website, so it's gotta be some truth to that. So a quick disclaimer for my audience, the 3 pieces of gear from Next Level Racing that we're taking a look at today were sent for review. However, Next Level Racing doesn't get an early preview. They get to see it when you do. I haven't been paid to say or not say anything about the products. And as always, if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, you're gonna hear about it. So these companies make better products over time. So I am going to get the bluff or bottom line up front, out of the way, front load, why I think Next Level Racing is so gosh darn popular in the flight and racing simulator realm. And that is because they make aluminum profile rigs easily accessible and reasonably priced for the fit and finish and what you're getting with them. Now, there is one other competitor company that is very popular as well when it comes to profile rigs. I'm not gonna mention them here because this isn't a direct comparison kind of video. They do something very similar. However, the fit and finish is not quite the same. You are gonna have metal shavings at the cut points and some uglier machining. Hardware's not gonna be separated and labeled as cleanly. Even the purchasing process on the website isn't laid out as easy to navigate. And that's where Next Level Racing, NLR, as I've never heard anybody refer to them as, but I like acronyms, saying Next Level a bunch of this video, we're gonna save me a little breath. That's where NLR creams the corn out of the competition. Shipping is quick, and if you have any issues, there is a solid customer service system in place. Now, Next Level isn't perfect in this regards, and when I get to the con section, I am gonna mention that when I was assembling my Black Edition monitor stand, which is holding up these 4K triples over shoulder, scanning the QR code for the video instructions took me to a list of all the products and I had to find mine, and then the video tutorial wasn't actually for that product. So things aren't perfect in Paradise, but despite the cons or setbacks, it pretty much is still paradise when it comes to cockpit equipment and their chairs, their seats. It is a nice spot to park your back and crack. So the most important thing when you are building is having a solid foundation, a solid structure that you're bolting all of your equipment to. Whether that's a nice solid, but this is not a good example, but whether that's a nice solid piece of wood desk that you're mounting your crap claws here, that you're snapping your Logitech or Thrustmaster wheel to and then setting the pedals on the ground, or down the road you get yourself some kind of a foldable cockpit, or the crown jewel, an aluminum profile rig due to their pretty much unlimited customization, mounting options, and most importantly, rigidity. You don't want any flex in your rig, so when you're pounding down on a load cell brake, it's not squishing in a 1/4 inch into some soft pot metal. Or when you start getting some feedback from your wheel, it's not creaking, moaning, and groaning and flexing. For example, the Miranda rig that I ran for about longer than I should have. So the crown jewel when it comes to minimal flex and maximum customization tends to be aluminum profile rigs, which you can make your own. Fabricate, and you're gonna save some money. Next Level Racing makes aluminum profile rigs very easily accessible and reasonably priced. When you look at the competitors, it's common to find holes that aren't lining up with the hardware, it just isn't pre-drilled properly. And your nuts and bolts might be mixed, or you might be even missing a couple of pieces of hardware that you hopefully have in your garage. So there really wasn't too many cons with the 3 pieces of next level racing gear / equipment that I received and have been using the ever-living heck out of, but there are a few, and I'm gonna point them out
Right now.
The monitor stand was suctioned into the styrofoam packaging in a way that was practically impossible to remove it. Damaged it, unfortunately, because I had to use, well, I guess I didn't have to, but a little bit of damage by using flathead screwdriver or a knife or some kind of tool to get the thing out. But it was very difficult to remove some of the aluminum profile pieces without damage. The next machining quirk was pointed out by a reviewer about a year ago, and I was hoping that this had been changed, had changed their machining / finishing process. But since these frames are finished with this nice satin black, which looks muy caliente, very hot, they actually drill out the hardware holes where you're going to be lining up your nuts and bolts after they do the black finishing. So those parts are silver. So I guess you could take a black marker to it if you wanted to black that out or something, but it does kind of defunkify the looks when it's all blacked out and then you have those silver pieces. This is a big one. It's kind of a pro and kind of a con. The T-nuts that are used with, I think, all of Next Level's cockpits, but definitely the GT and GT Elite, are a larger size, which makes them a lot more structurally sound when mounting accessories and makes them slide across the track in a very smooth manner, which makes assembly quite smooth, but you cannot drop them in from the side, which means once you've assembled your aluminum profile rig, if you try and add an accessory, you might be SOL or need to do some partial disassembly to be able to slide in the T-nut from the entrance of the track. Keep in mind that when you buy accessories for profile rigs off of Amazon or something, they're going to come with the generic T-nuts, which will be loose and wiggly inside the tracks. The written instructions were phenomenal for the GT Elite and ES3 chair. However, the monitor stand had a couple steps that I think could be worded better, and the pictures honestly did not do a very good job of showing what you're supposed to do. So when I scanned the QR code for a video tutorial, I ran into the second minor gripe, which is the fact that that QR code does not take you directly to the video tutorial, but rather a page with all of the products. So you scroll down to your monitor stand, and then from there, third little gripe-a-rooney, it's one of those tutorials that just has some dubstep and somebody's hands, but they're not saying anything, and the video tutorial really wasn't much more helpful. So I felt like I was fumbling around with steps, zibbity-bibbity and flibbity-dibbity. They also don't have an instructional video for the triple monitor stand. They do have the Elite series, but it's a single monitor stand, which is different. The instructions could have explained this step a lot better, but that's what I'm here for. You're going to install these adjustable T-nuts on this channel and this channel. So that is going to be the front and the first inner. These have a little safety pin. But other than those two steps, smooth as butter with the assembly. And in the near future, I mean very near future, probably a week or so, I'm going to be uploading a vlog style video showing you how I took this room from a guest bedroom, which I sure as shit don't need, to a home speedway that apparently makes my voice do weird things every time I look at it. Also, tool-wise, the monitor stand was a little bit more complicated with 4 or 5 different sizes of hex Allen keys, as were the GT Elite cockpit only had 2 and a little wrench, so that was way easier to keep track of. While adjusting the wheel plate mount, I did scrape the ever-living crap out of the right post. Luckily, this is in a place that's never going to be seen on camera, or I would be spanking myself off camera. This was my own fault, but also partially due to the design, the inherent con of an aluminum profile rig, and that is the fact that adjusting can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, where you have to have both sides aligned just perfectly, or else it's not going to work because you're sliding, or a lot of times grinding, along metal tracks with T-nuts. Onto the pros with the GT Elite cockpit, because there are a ton. The first one is going to be ease of assembly, everything from the instruction manual, the hardware being separated and everything that you needed being there, all the screw holes being properly machined to where everything lined up, screwed in, and I wasn't really screwed off by the end of the process. And once the cockpit was complete, I did a stress or flex test that no human being that bought this thing or got it for free or whatever would ever do. The only flex, give, stress, or sway I could notice was literally literally the pad of my carpet giving in as I rocked my, well, at the time, 200-pound body back and forth. I've lost some weight here recently. And as for structural integrity, rigidity, this is a topic I was actually a little bit concerned with because the FGT Elite, which stands for Formula, doesn't just include the optional accessory where you can kick up your feet into a Formula style position, because you can buy that optional kit for the GT Elite, but Will It Boosted Media showed the internals, the guts, the formation of the bins inside the body, and it is thicker in the FGT Elite. So I was a little bit worried because my end goal is to bolt it to a motion system. I don't know what's going on with my webcam. I'm trying to move downtown a little bit to the side and it really will not do it. OBS, you failed me today. Here we go. Here's the sugar that gave me the right diabetes. While constructed to suit the mid-range category with a 4080 profile, not the graphics card, that's a kind of metal. Through cutting-edge engineering and manufacturing, combined with unique components, fixtures, and reinforcements, the GT Elite is the most rigid mid-range cockpit. And then here's what made me kind of excited. Through this innovative process, the GT Elite in some cases is stronger than conventional 1640 cockpits seen on the market. And then they talk about a patent-pended design which gives rigidity and stability. So I don't know if that means the placement of the bins or what, but what I do know is that I tried to break what they sent me. And granted, I've lost damn near all the gains that I had back in the day after trying to flex and bend it in ways that I would never do in real gameplay / sim racing. I'm no longer concerned about the fact that I've seen the internal structure being thinner on the GT Elite than the FGT Elite. And along those lines, I do appreciate the lower cost of the GT Elite and the fact it is lighter. So despite the fact I don't move this rig now that it's in its spot, I did move it around many times when I can't really describe to you, but you're gonna see a little bit of it during the vlog when I was building the setup. How many times I readjusted this setup to get the angle of the monitors where I wanted them, using a protractor and a level, and going to the eye doctor to make sure my eyes were still level. I did appreciate dragging a lighter rig across my low pile carpet. And I'm sure Next Level Racing has done enough R&D and testing behind the scenes to make sure that they wouldn't deem the GT Elite motion compatible with all three of their motion systems, the V3, the Plus, the Traction Plus. I will be breaking down the difference in a future video. The GT Elite is labeled as ready to take the punishment, the flex, the torque produced by their motion rigs. I felt like there were plenty of foot seating options available where I could get into a GT or a damn near Formula position with the included accessories, because you have a ton of seat mounting options to where even if you don't have a sliding and reclining seat like a typical road car, which I went with for comfort and adjustability, if you have a fixed chair, which have their own benefits, you can still move it up, down, tilt it with the included mounts on the GT Elite. And then you combine that with the foot pedal positions. You could be 6'5", 5'2", and still get your pedals aligned not only a good length away, but also a good angle for your racing discipline. Everything from the wheel plate where your hands are going to be holding to the pedal rest and the seat where your buns are going to be placed, you can really dial in so many seating positions. So here's the beast, the GT Elite. There are two versions, the wheel plate edition and the side mount version. I would honestly recommend the wheel plate version because of the versatility. She's open for business with damn near any ecosystem or any wheelbase, which for me, being a tech reviewer and somebody that plans on reviewing sim racing equipment, being able to mount any wheelbase to this thing is very important. So some very important tech specs. I said earlier, some silly stuff like 5'2" to 6'4", 4 foot to 6'9", so whether you're Yoda or Shaq, you'll have no issue. Supported maximum weight is 330 pounds, which really doesn't sound like a lot, so you're not going to be mounting monitors to this most likely. You're going to be having a separate stationary monitor mount off of your GT Elite. Dimensions are on screen here. This is important. Make sure your room can fit your new profile rig. And the GT Elite itself is only 76 pounds. Box with all the hardware and everything, 83 pounds. As for the Black Edition Elite freestanding triple monitor stand, I did mention earlier my goal is to have a motion system, and along those regards it would be ideal to have the monitors mounted to the rig and moving with the entire base, the motion system itself. That is not going to be possible with the monitor stand that I selected, but that is okay considering the GT Elite does not have the weight capacity for what I just described to be possible. Anyway, so some things to be made note of. If your end goal is to be on a motion base or motion system, this monitor stand is going to be stationary. So as your cockpit is swaying to and fro, your monitors are stationary, which can kind of mess with your sense of motion, but that seems like a topic to be covered in a future video. Motion systems and sim racing, and why it should probably be the last thing you add to your setup. $400 is a rather steep price to hold up some monitors when you can get a generic cheapo on Amazon. However, the fit and finish, the ease of assembly, other than the QR code not going to the assembly video, the monitor stand did everything I wanted it to and nothing I didn't want it to. The only thing to make note of is be very careful when you are moving this thing once the monitors are mounted, because the legs will actually bend. So make sure you lift up. Don't try and slide it on your carpet. You could bend the legs on your sucker. It'll quickly start creaking and letting you know that you're hurting it. And to lift up, incredibly important notes, the maximum screen size is 43 inches, which I am actually at. But I do believe you could go higher than that, because the VESA monitor mounts would support larger monitors. You could mount some pretty big monitors or gaming TVs with no issue. And I do feel like it's holding these 43-inch monitors no problem, and I could probably go bigger, despite the fact it says 43 is the biggest I can take. Why don't they have the weight capacity here? One recommendation that I do think would make this a better product, quite simply, is replacing these two side VESA mounts with what is used for the center primary monitor, as these slide left and right, as well as height adjustment, and these also fit flush up against the rails while there's more spacing on the side monitors. I really don't understand the decision to go with these VESA mounts. Next Level did also supply me with a gaming chair, not a gaming chair, because they do apparently have like an office style chair. I didn't know that. Next Level Racing, I don't know if you know this, but you do now. I've reviewed a heck of a lot of gaming chairs on this channel. I even had a comprehensive comparison / buyer's guide a few years back. So if you want me to spin around in a circle really fast in one of these. But over here in racing seats, Next Level has a solid reputation with their chairs, because their chairs are indeed solid, very structurally sound. Whether you're going with a fixed mold or you're going with the adjustability and comfort of a road style seat like I did with the ERS3, which is going to be getting its own separate video, because there's enough to talk about for an entire video with the chair. Thank you for letting me share my thoughts on the Next Level Racing GT Elite and freestanding Black Edition monitor stand. There is also the chair, the ERS3 or ESR3 or some combination of letters that I'm butchering, that will be reviewed in the very near future. And I'm also going to be releasing that vlog style "How did this room become to exist" video, as well as me hurling my big buns around some racetracks while sitting in this decadent rig. If you're going to purchase anything from Next Level Racing, it would behoove you to use the code in the description below. That is an exclusive discount for my audience, 5% off site-wide, but it does not apply to manufacturer-specific collaborations such as Ford and Ferrari. And I do believe you have to be in North America for that code to take effect. I'll try and get an international code or something down the road. Thank you so much for watching. Drop in the comment section below what you think of Next Level Racing, if you've heard of them, good things, bad things. Like, subscribe, do all the things that YouTubers ask you to do at the end of a video, sometimes at the beginning. That's not very classy at all. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.